Hi, this is a three-part series on the law of indecent exposure in the state of Alabama. First part of the series is going to be on what are the elements of indecent exposure. The second part is going to be on defenses, and the third part is going to be on the consequences. And we're going to break this up into three videos. Let's start first with the elements of indecent exposure. Indecent exposure occurs when somebody exposes their genitals in a public place, which can be, or in a private place, which can be seen by the public, and the exposure is done for the purposes of their own sexual gratification or that of another, and the person who is doing the exposing is aware that their conduct is likely to cause affront or alarm. So let's give some hypothetical examples, and you tell me if you think these people are guilty or not guilty. We're going to start with the case of the bashful flasher. And the bashful flasher decides he's going to flash a busload of Girl Scouts as they're coming off of a Girl Scout retreat. And he dresses in his trench coat, and when they get off the bus, he opens his trench coat and exposes the fact that he is wearing a Speedo swim trench coat. He's bashful after all. Has he committed a crime? Well, you're going to tell me. Let's go on to the next case, and we'll go back and figure out who's guilty or not guilty or whatever. Next case, we have Rowdy Rocker. He's a rock star. He's on Birmingham doing a big concert, and there's a fan in the audience, a groupie. Her name is Gina Groupie. And indecent exposure or not? We'll see. Third case. Let's say two married movie stars, and let's call them Kim Lardashian and Kane North. And they come to Gulf Shores, Alabama. They buy themselves an island that is part of Alabama territory, and they put up a 10-foot privacy fence. And they go out and get naked, and they have sex in their backyard. Unbeknownst to them, flying way, way above is a drone piloted by a paparazzi reporter. And he has a telephoto lens, and he takes photographs of them in the act. So these are our three cases. Now, the cases come to the attention of an Alabama sex crimes investigator who we're going to call, Investigator Feckless Fife. And Feckless Fife says, these people have committed crimes. And he issues arrest warrants for all of them. The question is, you're the lawyer, are they guilty or not? So let's talk about the case of the bashful flasher. Is he guilty? Did he commit a crime? Well, if you remember, the law says that you have to expose your genitals. He didn't do it. He was wearing a Speedo. And while he may have thought he committed a crime, he didn't commit the crime of indecent exposure because there was no genitals exposed. What about Rowdy Rocker and Gina, and they're on stage? Let's look at the next element of it. The exposure has to be done for the sexual gratification of another person, and I think they met that element. And what about that crowd? So far, it's not looking good for them. Now, what about Kane and Kim? Well, they were exposing themselves for one another's own sexual gratification, and it was seen by others. But first off, Alabama law says that if you're exposing yourself to your spouse, that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's a free pass. For example, if Rowdy and the girl in the audience were actually husband and wife and they went on stage and did all of that, they still, I think a prosecutor would argue that they're still guilty because it wasn't just for their own personal sexual gratification, but for everybody in the crowd. They were putting on a show. So that probably wouldn't fly in that instance. But our Kane and Kim would probably be safe because, well, they had a reasonable expectation of privacy. They were not aware that their conduct would be likely to cause affront or alarm. Remember, they had a big, 10-foot privacy fence. They're on a private island. The fact that somebody is looking at them from the sky with a drone, they weren't committing the crime of indecent exposure. So those folks would probably be acquitted. So there you have it. Those are some of the basics. If you're accused of any criminal offense, of course, you should talk to a criminal defense lawyer. You need to do it as quickly as possible. If you'd like our help, give us a call. The phone number is listed below.